This is Brent.
And this is Amanda.
We are the Unreliable Narrators.
Here to talk about the strangeness, the mystery, and the wonder of Gene Wolfe's prose.
What is time?
What is memory?
What is a person?
Is this reality?
Where are we?
Do we exist?
Have you ever considered that all your choices are what have brought you right here to this very moment?
Episode number nothing. And we are here not actually to talk about Gene Wolfe's prose, but about WorldCon.
Yeah. So this was my first WorldCon this year in Seattle.
Yeah, and it was also my first WorldCon, although it was the second con that I had attended because I went to ReaderCon last year.
Okay.
So, yeah, definitely a new experience for us both because it's not really anything like ReaderCon.
So I figured we could talk a little bit about...
Well, yeah, so this was a novel experience for both of us and probably something that would matter to at least some of our listeners. I don't know if we have any listeners that have attended WorldCon, or maybe there were people there and we just didn't know who they were. But it was a really interesting experience and a lot of fun, I thought, although not quite what either of us expected.
Yeah, what I got was not what I was expecting.
Okay, so what were you expecting?
I am dumb because I don't really know.
Oh, okay.
I was expecting more interacting on an equal footing with people who are either doing the stories, doing the TV shows, doing the art. And the conclusion I came to is I'm not a fan.
No, though you might be described as a fan by some people and might have described yourself as a fan, you're not fitting into fandom as it was seen at WorldCon.
Yeah. So the fawning over people.
Yeah.
That was not a... Wait, yes, I enjoy an art. Literally, I'm a co-host on a top 5 Gene Wolfe podcast.
Woohoo!
So it's like, yes, I can appreciate an author's work.
Yes.
But just the level of interactions,
right?
Like the number of times I heard, "Oh, where do you get your ideas from?" It's like, well, they rub together some brain cells, like everybody does.
Well, so I think part of it is the experience of celebrity in our culture, and I think what you're describing is surprise at how much the concept of celebrity seemed to be a part of WorldCon, where what I think you approach this as, and I think this is true of me as well, but this is pretty distinctive, I think, about your experience, is that you are interested in the thing that the author is interested in, and therefore you're interested in the author's work. So you're interested in the author's work as an object in its own right, but it's because of the alignment between what you're interested in and what they're interested in.
I think that's a fair assessment.
So it's the C.S. Lewis's definition of friendship, where you see another person and you're like, what, you too? I thought I was the only one. Yeah. And I'm just going to go ahead and bring up a specific author from WorldCon. So when you're in a panel and Ray Naylor is up there talking about his... somebody's asking a question about a general topic, the panel's on a particular topic, and Ray Naylor starts talking about conservation of elephants and the significance of conserving a species that exists over trying to reintroduce an extinct species. There's this convergence of interest you have where you have thought and cared about this kind of thing, and here he is describing it in terms that you recognize and respect.
Yeah. And
that's an interesting thing because you're looking at conservation of a species or caring about the microbiome of a dire wolf alongside someone else who is also caring about the microbiome of a dire wolf. And that's a distinct experience from, oh, this person is famous and I want to just hear them talk about themselves.
Yeah, it is very distinct.
Yeah. So I don't know, if you've never been to WorldCon, the structure, and this may be true of most cons, I don't know. In this sense, it was very similar to ReaderCon, where the structure is there are a lot of panels. And so there's a big dealer's room where all the vendors are and people walk around, some in costume, although fewer than I expected. But the majority of the action of the con is at either panels where you have 3 to 5 people, mostly authors, but also a variety of other people in the SF space talking about a topic. Then there are also rooms where authors do readings. And then there's a big area where at different times, different authors are available for signings. And that seems to be about the thing. And then there's this whole side structure that a couple of introverts didn't spend a lot of time at, which is where people gather in suites at the hotel or at the bar. And there's also was a ballroom with dancing and flashing lights and loud noise. And that also seems to be part of the experience for some people. But neither of your hosts are people that are going to go to a dance.
Yeah, screw that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you mentioned the panels.
Yes.
To me, it was very hit and miss.
Oh, I think that's, yes, I agree.
Yeah, so there were certain panels where I was like, oh, I this is interesting.
Yes.
The topic was interesting to me, but then when I showed up, I was like, yeah, they're either not thinking about this in a way, or the audience isn't on the level. And so it's like, well, shoot.
Yeah, because typically a panel would be, every panel has a moderator and then the participants, and the moderator is a peer of the participants. They didn't have like professional panel moderators. It was, one of the panelists served as moderator, and then they would either spend a lot of time or a little time asking their own questions of the panelists and generating conversation between the panelists that way. And then after, again, usually these are about an hour. And then sometimes it was as little as 20 minutes of just having the panelists talk with the moderator prompting them. Sometimes it was more like 50 minutes. And then whatever the remainder was, they would open it up to questions from the audience. And I think a panelist or a panel is like the topic matters, but what matters probably the most is how good the moderator is. Yeah,
because if you have a bad moderator, the number of questions, I'm using air quotes here, that started with, this isn't really a question.
Oh yeah, this is more of a comment.
Yeah. And it's like, well, okay, shut up. We random person in the audience.
Right. We have panelists here who have theoretically interesting things to say. And now audience members may be interesting people, but for the most part, it seemed like the people who want to get up and ask questions or again, questions in air quotes, or make comments are not the most interesting people in the audience, and definitely not as interesting as the panelists.
Yeah. And then you get, I'm not going to name names, but there was a panelist that Ada Palmer was on.
Yes.
And one of the other panelists was very combative.
Right. Yes, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, to the point that Ada Palmer's face is very expressive.
I love this about her.
Yeah. So it's like every eye roll, every little like purse of the lip, every
wince, she'll wobble her head back and forth if it's like, well, that's not completely wrong, but it's mostly wrong.
Yeah. And so there is this other panelist was just very like, well, I disagree with that. And it's like,
but it's the level of disagreeing with like a Webster's dictionary definition of things. This was not Palmer having some outrageous take and this panelist disagreeing with a fringe position. It was, the very basic definitions that the panel was built around. This panelist was challenging them, I think, in it had a point she was trying to make, or they were trying to make, sorry. Yeah, and the moderator did nothing to moderate or redirect that energy. And I think that energy got started because the moderator, who probably a very good person who has handled panels better, maybe just not having a good day, they were not well prepared. They didn't come in with a direction. Mm-hmm. And so the energy never got headed in a particular way. So
yeah.
One of the very first readings, author readings I ever went to was a Cory Doctorow reading not very long ago, because I haven't been to very many of these things. Mm-hmm. And when he opened it up to questions, he had a preamble, and I'm assuming he does this at every reading he does. It was very practiced and very good. He said, if your question starts off with, this is really more of a comment, then it's not a question and this is not the time. So if you have an actual question, ask an actual question, otherwise allow other people to do so. And that sort of schooled master-ish direction, I think really helps the energy. It's like, oh yes, no, we really do want to have an interesting conversation. So a real question is what this calls for, not this is more of a comment for me to point out how much I know about the topic, or for me to beat my hobby horse at the expense of this public conversation.
Yeah, which happened quite a bit. Even a few panelists gave into that temptation.
For sure. Rather than complaining about the bad panels, I do want to talk about just the highlights for me.
Yeah.
So we've already brought up both Ray Naylor and Ada Palmer, who were in my opinion, two standout participants. Mm-hmm. As panelists, they were consistently interesting, consistently thoughtful. They brought up things that I'm interested in. So, I mean, this may just be they were meeting my desires and my expectations, but they're both interested in a wide variety of things. They both have life experience in broad categories and research experience in broad categories, which meant that the panels that they participated in covered a huge variety of topics, and then they could call on these wells of knowledge. They just had sharp, interesting answers to things. So I really enjoyed any panel they participated on, even if, like in the case of Dr. Palmer, there were combative or difficult members.
Yeah. No, and I enjoyed seeing Michael Swanwick.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would echo with Palmer and
Naylor.
Ray Naylor, and then Michael Swanwick for me. Because Swanwick has been on my radar, and I've been slowly reading his stuff, but then actually listening to him speak on panels, I liked him more in terms of sense of humor and things that he brought up, points that he was making.
Yeah, I don't know. This might be dangerous to get into, so yell at me if you want to cut this from the podcast. But Swanwick, and there are a couple of other older writers there, David Brin, Gary Wolfe.
Yes.
Oh, hey, we got a Wolfe connection because his name is also Wolfe. And
no relation to Gene, by the way.
No relation to Gene Wolfe. They were participating in a panel, and I can't remember exactly what the topic of it was, but they were talking about opening the genre to new voices and promoting new voices. And that may have been I think
it was old guard versus new guard.
Yes, old guard versus new guard. And an audience member got up and asked, how do we make sure that this is open to new voices? And they preface their question with, well, I realize I'm asking a bunch of old white men what to do about, and just the tone of that, and the tone of the audience was that they didn't have anything interesting to say. And yet it was a panel about old guard versus new guard. And I think 4 of the 5 or 6 participants were definitely, at least visually, appeared to be old guard.
Uh-huh.
And the entirety of the panel, when the moderator directed questions and their responses to audience questions, was just this open, warm, thoughtful, nuanced, recognition that there are perceptions. Sometimes those perceptions shape what you see. There were more diverse voices available than sometimes people realize. That the fact that people don't realize it might have to do with gatekeeping. It might also have to do with audience's expectation of what they will see, so that someone like Joanna Russ is underappreciated. Mm-hmm. Their response to that question, what do we do? I don't remember the details of their responses, but it was very much the weight of it was toward this passing on of skills, this openness to new possibilities, and what you might, I know you know these details better than I do. If you look at the history of publishing in SF, it is always old guard people who are opening the door to new voices. Yeah. And the particular participants here are people who have done that. Mm-hmm. And so it felt like such a non-combative, although the tone from the audience was occasionally a little combative. The writers themselves were so open and non-defensive that it was a really enjoyable panel to listen to.
Yeah, I remember that question because I remember being irritated with the fact that the woman asking wasn't even aware that it's only been in our lifetime that science fiction and fantasy became a topic worthy of discussing at the university level.
Right. And people like Gary Wolf were key in and David Brin and these guys were key in making that a possibility.
Yeah.
They championed the cause of academic attention.
Yeah. So it's like this double-edged, like, oh, well, we took this thing that people didn't think was worthy and was like, okay, well, let's actually look at this, and published articles and interacted with people. But then you get the after, it's like, oh, you guys were a bunch of old white people and old white guys. And I was rolling my eyes when that question.
Yeah. Yeah. Because these people are the opposite of stuffy defenders of tradition. They're, innovative explorers of new possibilities. I mean, we're in SF after all.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
One other thing I was thinking about that I did want to talk about was like the whole parasocial aspect.
That's a good thing to talk about, actually. I like that.
Because many times I started to smile and say hello to someone, and then I realized I recognize them because I've either seen a video or a photo of them. Like there's one point where we're walking along and it was Michael Swanwick, and I almost stopped and said hello, and then I had to be like, no, he doesn't know me.
I know him, but he doesn't know me.
Yeah, there's a point where I was walking to Ada Palmer panel, and she was out front eating a muffin.
Yes.
and I almost was like, almost stopped and said, I'm going to a panel you're supposed to be on in 5 minutes. And but then I was like, she doesn't know me. She's just eating her breakfast. I need to leave her alone.
Yeah.
There is one point where I was that guy. And
yes,
I'm sorry.
you were that guy.
Yes.
So you're talking about how you didn't disrupt Dr. Palmer eating her breakfast or Michael Swanwick walking down the hall, but what did you actually do?
David Brin was at the urinal.
Oh my goodness, men!
And I'm sorry, Mr. Brin. I was that guy, but he had made a comment about Kevin Costner's The Postman.
Yeah, the adaptation of his novel.
Yeah, the adaptation of it, and in a panel, and then so it was an hour or two later. Like I saw him in the restroom, and then I was like, hey, just so you know, like the Kevin Costner movie wasn't all bad because I found your work through that.
Right.
And he took it in stride and was laughing.
He was polite to you in the restroom.
He was polite to me in the restroom.
That's good. No, I think the parasocial thing is interesting because there is such an unhealthy cultural pattern available to us where you can, through enjoying someone's art, develop a sense of a relationship with them and then attempt to impose that relationship on them. However, it does seem to me like there is a healthy dimension of it, which is that, someone's art has given us life. Someone's art has given us encouragement. Someone's art has given us this sense of human connection that is authentic, is genuine. To mistake it for a real life or an embodied connection is a mistake, but there is I don't want to be too woo-woo here, but there is a spiritual connection. And the fact of the matter is that I feel connected to St. Augustine, and I feel connected to C.S. Lewis, and I feel connected to Dr. Palmer, and I feel connected to Gene Wolfe. Clearly, I feel like in a sense, I do know them. I don't know them in a way that it would be socially appropriate or even humanly comfortable or appropriate for me to walk up to them and expect them to interact with me in the way that I have experienced their work. But if I can respect their personal space at the urinal or otherwise, and express appreciation to them, I think that is healthy and okay as long as I don't then expect more from them.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So, yeah.
It makes sense. And that's, I was kind of casting some of my thoughts on the whole parasocial because you brought up St. Augustine, but
right.
I definitely feel a connection to St. Augustine, but then there's other historical figures too that they've either through art or through literature, or I say art, I mean like paintings or
right.
or something, like they inspired something in me.
Yeah.
And that's gone on to allow me to create something else.
Yeah.
And so it's this weird genealogy of ideas that they're part of.
Yeah.
And I mean, I suppose just like our great grandparents probably roll our eyes at some of the things we do where it's
Right.
like, oh, well, that's my descendants doing that. I'm sure there's people that in a genealogy of ideas where St. Augustine's like, that's not quite what I meant, but at least you're doing something with it.
Yeah. I enjoyed being in that space. I enjoyed the few opportunities to sort of meet authors. Dr. Palmer graciously signed a book for me. We got to listen in on kind of a small group thing that she was a part of. It was not a great space for conversation, but she was invested and involved. And I seeing certain authors in multiple panels it has expanded my appreciation of their work.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. And I really enjoyed walking around the dealer's room and shopping for books at the used book stalls. Absolutely my favorite thing. And as far as I'm concerned, the only thing that needs to be in the dealer's room. I don't care about clever T-shirts. I just love finding used books. I spent way too much money, but that's okay.
Well, so did I, but...
Yeah, that's okay too. It's not the first time we've done that.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess next year is in Anaheim. Do you plan on going, or?
I expect to. It's relatively close, so wouldn't require flying halfway around the world. I would not have gone to the one in China.
Yeah,
I've been to Chengdu before, but had no desire to go there again. But yeah, anything that's reasonable traveling distance, and so long as I can arrange the necessary time away, I very much would like to go. I also would like to go a little bit more prepared. We both, I think, felt this, that life has been very busy and stressful in different ways for both of your hosts over the course of the last 6 months or so. And so although we'd been planning to go to WorldCon, it really kind of just arrived and took off and headed up there and hadn't even really looked at all the panelists that would be there. We'd paid attention to who the headline people were, the guests of honor, and none of them hit our, definitely have to get something signed by this person list. And then when we got there, we're like, oh, some of our favorite people are here. Mm-hmm. And we didn't bring any of our stuff to have signed, or we just weren't as prepared as we could have been.
Yeah.
So the guidebook's available beforehand, and, it's pretty obvious, but we should have paid more attention to it and made more of a plan beforehand.
Yeah.
So I would like to do that differently next year.
The other thing, too, I was just thinking, I don't think I brought this up, but I've never been in a group of people that had such poor spatial and navigational awareness before.
That was an interesting thing. And I've been at some big events, at big things of different types. And I agree. The navigating the flow of people was very strange.
Yeah. Like nobody had any understanding that, like, theory of mind was, I felt like was very low for your average.
We need some good theory of mind SF to open some conversations.
Yeah. It got to the point where I just started pointing where I wanted to walk.
Right.
So people would understand where I was going.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I definitely want to be a little more prepared. Take a few things that I want signed. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, and we started Hedgehog Press last year, and released one publication, and we're working on another, and have other things in the works. And so, I think one of the things that's great about something like WorldCon is you can bridge that gap between observer, fan, and participant pretty easily. And so, whether it's having a table in the dealer's room or just taking some things with us to share with other fans, there's a giveaway booth where you can give away extra copies of things that you have, extra books or magazines, that kind of thing.
There was a ton of nice stuff there.
Yes, it's like surprisingly nice stuff. And it would be really nice to be able to participate in that, have, badge ribbons printed up with the name of Hedgehog Press and just some of our small publications. I mean, we've not done anything big or fancy, although we do have something we're pretty excited about coming together. So in the coming months, we're hoping to get that together. It would just be nice to be able to share more as writers and publishers, as well as podcasters there, in a small way, not a big thing.
Yeah. Well, did you have any other thoughts on WorldCon?
No, I think that's probably it for now. I am excited to to go again next year and just have the experience all over again. It was really interesting and enjoyable. It kind of absorbed all of the energy of every day. So if you're like me and you go and do something like that, you kind of just have to plan to be all in and not do a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I enjoyed it, but it also was very draining. So
yes, it was. Right? Well, Unreliable Narrators are Amanda Patchen and Brent Towle, and I don't have a wolf quote for this, but thanks for listening.
yeah, thank you.